All right. So without any further ado, I would like to get started and let's talk about growing your team with virtual assistants. All right. So what is a virtual assistant? Let's start there. We really have to answer the question, what is a virtual assistant? Well, ultimately, a virtual assistant is anyone who performs work for you from a location other than your own. You know, it's interesting. I was on the phone with a real estate agent this morning who was thinking about buying office space. And the discussion centered around, well, you know, I really don't want to have to buy office space, but my team is outgrowing my current location, you know, and she's now hiring virtual assistants through us, which is helping her because now she doesn't have to go hire go buy office space. And she's going to take the existing team that she has, and rather than buy office space for them, because right now they're working out of her house and she doesn't want to continue to do that, she's going to have them working from their homes, which are local to her, right? They're in her part of the country, but ultimately that's going to make them virtual assistants also. Does that make sense? Because they're performing that work for her from their home instead of from her home. And now she's also going to be adding virtual assistants that we're going to be hiring for her from all over the world as part of her virtual team. But in essence, what's happening now is she's able to build and grow her team without any of the overhead and expense of the office space. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. All right. Well, I'm about to show you why top businesses hire virtual assistants and why you should too. I'm going to hopefully change your perception of virtual assistants forever. You know, the old cliche is that virtual assistants are only good for low-level tasks like data entry and SEO and blogging. And we're going to talk today about some of the high-level tasks that many virtual assistants are able to accomplish and the difference between kind of those Walmart of VAs out there and the Nordstrom's type VAs out there. And there's a big difference between them. And there are some very talented people out there that you can get at a very affordable price that really want to work for you. And you would be amazed at how talented they can be. We're going to talk about how to select the right virtual assistant. You know, it's tough when you don't have enough help. It's even worse when you don't have the right help. Just hiring somebody is not enough. You've got to hire the right people. And when you have those right people, you want to put them in the right system and you want to support them the right way and make sure that they have the tools necessary to do their job. We'll talk a little bit about that later as well. We're going to talk about how to know when and if you're ready to hire a virtual assistant. You know, a lot of people, to be honest with you, just aren't ready to hire a virtual assistant, and that's okay. We're going to talk about how do you know if it's time? How do you know if hiring a virtual assistant is even the right move for you and your business right now? And it may not be, and that's okay. If it is, make sure you do it the right way. Then we're going to talk about how you can test drive a virtual assistant absolutely for free. Now, one of the things that we're going to do today for you, I don't know if you read it in the email or not, but for everybody that registered for this webinar, because of those technical challenges that we had earlier, we are going to give you an extra special bonus at the end of the webinar. Now, you can find out about that bonus if you go to advancedreosecrets.net. That's advancedreosecrets.net. You'll find out about that freebie. I'm going to give you something that's literally worth up to $1,000 absolutely free. Now, it's important that you know that there's not going to be any selling today, so that is your opportunity to connect with us, is to go to advancedreosecrets.net. All right, well, let's get right into it. So let's talk about how I went from being the Lone Ranger to, you know, just kind of doing business on my own. It was me and my wife against the world selling real estate, to becoming a world-class team builder, and more importantly, how you can too. You know, I always tell people I'm a recovering real estate agent. You know, about 2 years into the business, you know, here I was just out of, I had gotten out of high school, went and served for, a mission for the church for a couple of years, came back, and immediately went back into real estate. And 2 years into that career, my parents were recommending that I get a job at McDonald's. And their comment was, well, Michael, you'd make more money if you worked for McDonald's. And despite being the number one agent in my office at the time, the scary truth of the matter was they were right. You know, yeah, it was great that I was number one in my office. Whoop-de-doo. Everybody else was broke too, right? I wasn't making any money. I was broke. And I had to figure out, how am I going to do this? So like you, I sought out an expert. Just like you went to Frank Patrick, I went and I sought out an expert that could help me learn about real estate. And I went to one of their seminars. And he made a comment that hit me like a ton of bricks. He said, if you don't have an assistant, you are one. I'm going to say that again. If you don't have an assistant, you are one. Man, that is so true. That hit me like a ton of bricks, and I got to tell you, I was scared to death. I knew what I had to do. I knew I needed to go out and hire an assistant, but I had no idea how I was going to do it. I didn't know where I was going to come up with the money. I was going to have to pay this assistant more than I had ever made in a year. And so how was I going to do this? How was I going to grow my business by hiring assistants? Well, I took the leap of faith, and I did it anyway. I knew I had a credit card, and I knew how to use it, so I thought, well, I'm going to give it a shot. And I hired my first assistant. And let me tell you, she was fabulous. In fact, she was so amazing that literally 4 years later, she became my wife. And I always tell people that's when I went to work for her. But anybody that's married knows what I mean by that. She's wonderful. I love my wife. Terrific gal. Absolutely the most amazing woman on the face of this planet. And she helped me grow that business to over 44 employees over the next 18 years. And I got to tell you, that sounds great. So I was like, wow, you guys built this huge business, and that's all fine and dandy until you think about, wow, what I really did was I grew 44 headaches, right? And I got to tell you, my payroll was enormous. This was the biggest challenge. I had $125,000 per month payroll. And it was kind of freaking me out a little bit. Here I was making all kinds of money. We were bringing in about $450,000 in commissions every month, but I was spending 125 of that on payroll every month. And then you have all the other overhead and the office space and all this other stuff. Well, I started talking with a lot of my friends around the country, the big mortgage brokers and the big real estate agents that I knew all around the country, and they started suggesting things like hiring virtual assistants. And I thought about that. I thought, God, I'm really not comfortable with that. I was really nervous about it. I didn't know, how was I going to find them? How would I interview them? How would I test them to make sure they're right? How am I going to communicate with them on a daily basis? How am I going to, hold them accountable and make sure that they're working hard for me? I had more questions than answers. I had no idea how I was going to do this. And frankly, I'll be honest with you, I took a leap of faith. I reluctantly hired my first virtual assistant, but I got to be honest with you, I did it almost hoping that it would fail. I kind of wanted to be able to go back to my friends and say, see, I told you so. I knew it wouldn't work. And I got to tell you, I hired this person, and I placed them underneath I had on my staff. I was doing about 50% of my business was REO, and so I hired this person to work underneath the person that was doing all my BPOs. And I got to tell you, it actually went great. I was blown away. I couldn't believe how well it went. In fact, my BPO gal came up to me and she says, Michael, I love my virtual assistant. This guy is awesome. Give me another one. This guy is fantastic. He's doing a great job for me. And he was taking about 80% of the workload off of her plate, so she was able to get more done, do better quality BPOs, which was in turn making my asset managers happy, which was helping me get more listings on so on and so on. Well, now, take it another step further, as soon as they heard about it, my wife and my office manager came to me, and they both started asking me for a virtual assistant. Well, so, I figure, okay, well, I'll go for it. So I hired 2 more. And, I'll be honest, out of those first 3 virtual assistants, 2 of them were fantastic. One of them stunk. One of them was terrible. So I had to get rid of that person. Now, I got to tell you, when you think about letting someone go in the States, it's scary because, people can sue you for wrongful termination. They can go to the state. They can create trouble for you there. It's scary when you fire somebody in the United States. But this person happened to be in the Philippines. And so literally all I did was I sent an email saying, your services are no longer required. We will forward you your final paycheck. Thank you very much. And that was it. And I hit send and I was done. That was it. I felt like Donald Trump, you're fired. And it really did work. It was awesome. And then I replaced that person, that virtual assistant, with another virtual assistant who was even better. It was 10 times better. And so now all of a sudden I had 3 amazing virtual assistants on my team. Well, as you can imagine, the next thing I started doing is I started looking around my office and I started thinking to myself, well, gosh, what other positions can I take virtual? Here I'm saving all this money on these positions. I've got people that really do want to work hard. They are accountable. They work the entire day. They're not texting their friends. I can see, and I'll show you later how I can see, but I actually had systems in place where I could see that they were working and I could monitor them without having to really monitor them. It was actually being done on an automatic basis. Pretty cool software. I'll show you. But anyway, I started looking around the office, and literally eventually I took my entire company virtual. So I started what we call top grading. Top grading is where you take you keep the very, very best people on your team. So basically the top 20% of people, you're going to keep them long term. Then there's that middle 60% where, if they don't really, step it up, they're probably not going to have a job long term, but they're good enough to keep for now. Then you got that bottom 20%. And these are the people that, hey, look, you know your days are numbered. I know your days are numbered. And so I started with that bottom 20%, and I started replacing them with people from overseas. And I got to tell you, all of a sudden my team got stronger. We were more cohesive as a team. We eliminated the cancerous people in the team. And by cancerous, I mean that there are people on a lot of teams that are dragging your team down. They're negative. Their attitude isn't what it needs to be. Their work ethic isn't what everybody else's is. And they're just like a cancer in your business. And you got to cut those people out. I mean, ultimately, everyone on your team needs to understand that, hey, look, we all need to pull our weight and then some. We all need to give it 110% because at the end of the day, if we take care of the business will take care of us. But if we don't take care of the business, there won't be a business for any of us. And so it's critical that we all work very, very hard toward a common goal. Well, as I began this top grading, my team was getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and all of a sudden, I started looking at that 60%. My top 20%, I sent them all home, and they got to work from home, which they loved, by the way. So now they were virtual assistants from home, and I started this top grading process, and eventually, we just had a rock star team, and I literally took my payroll from $125,000 a month down to $40,000 a month using virtual assistants. And by the way, that's a 68% savings on payroll, or $85,000 a month. And I didn't have to do a single extra transaction to get there. That was without doing another transaction. That was just doing the current level of transactions I was doing. I was literally profiting an extra $85,000 a month. But get this, that's where the savings began. That's not even all the savings. Listen to this. On employees, I was saving on the wages and salaries. Obviously, I was now saving on employment taxes because I was hiring people from overseas, so I wasn't having to spend any money on employment taxes, which also meant no more Social Security, no more Medicare, no more health insurance, no more Obamacare, no more labor and industries, workers' comp, none of that stuff. I didn't have any of that stuff anymore. In fact, I even got rid of the office chit-chat and the office drama, which, let me tell you, were extremely costly. And if you don't believe me, go into any office where they've got a bunch of people working in an office. You're going to have chit-chat, you're going to have drama, and it costs you money. Well, all of that went away when I hired virtual assistants. The other things I was saving on was all the office expenses because now I didn't need the office building anymore. So I got rid of the long-term leases, no more triple nets, no more insurance, no more telephone, no more internet, no more computers, office equipment, copiers, no more desks, chairs, lights, plants, cubicles, no more toilet paper, no more people to support the internet, the equipment, the office equipment, the copiers, all the support staff for the computers and telephone. All that went away. You're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in savings because I no longer had physical facilities. Oh my gosh, the light bulbs went on. I mean, it blew me away. I mean, it just, all of a sudden, the light went on and I realized, hey, I just found the Holy Grail here. I just found the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And it only took me 20 years to figure it out, but hey, at least I figured it out eventually, right? And so all of a sudden I'm saving all this money, and I got to tell you, as great as the monetary savings were, I will tell you this. Even if I had to pay the same or more for my virtual assistants what I was paying for my local staff, I would have done it and once I knew what I got. And the reason is because they were so much more effective. I literally, once I implemented my time tracking software, I literally gained an extra 25% efficiency with my office staff. I no longer had to deal with the state. I no longer had to deal with the federal government or anybody else on employment issues. And everything came together. It was phenomenal. Now, another reason, as much as all the savings and all that and the increased productivity and as great as all that is, there are other reasons why virtual assistants make a huge difference in your life, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. First, let's talk about the VAs themselves. VAs come in all shapes and sizes. Their backgrounds vary. Their skill sets vary. Their pay ranges vary. Whether you hire globally or from the U.S. makes a big difference on how much they cost, and also makes a difference on work ethic. And I will say this, and I don't mean to sound unpatriotic. Please don't feel that way. I'm very patriotic. I love my country. I will say that I have found personally that the people that I hire abroad tend to have a stronger work ethic than the people I have been able to find locally. And just by and large, as a group, they are very, very motivated. They're anxious to find that better life. They're anxious to work hard for it, and they will do whatever it takes to keep that job. They're extremely fiercely loyal, and I love that about my folks that I hire from all different parts of the world. Now, pricing, when you think about price ranges, whether, U.S. is about 3 times, anywhere from 40% to, it could be literally 300% as expensive to hire in the U.S. as it is overseas. Also, another big impact on price is whether you're hiring somebody long-term or for a project. When you hire someone on a long-term basis, and that doesn't mean it needs to be full-time. It could be part-time or 10 hours a week or even 2.5 hours a week. But when you give someone a job that they know they're going to have over a long period of time, for the next 6 months, the next year, the next 5 years, or whatever, as long as they're doing a great job for you, they're willing to work for a lower hourly rate. And you also get a much different level of loyalty out of someone that knows they're going to be working for you for a long period of time. So my suggestion is there are things that make sense to do as a project, and there are things that make sense to hire someone for on a long-term basis. Err in favor of long-term if you can. Some things that make sense for project work would be like maybe you need a logo designed, or maybe you just need a one-time design for a template, or you need a website put together. Something very something that's definitely has a definite end date. It's once it's complete, it's complete. That's fine. But at the end of the day, those positions that you're hiring long term, like an executive assistant, a telemarketer, a bookkeeper, a web developer, if you're going to be putting lots of different web pages together, and you hire them with that expectation they're going to continue to work for you on an ongoing basis, they're going to be much more willing to negotiate with you on their price, believe me. Also, quality versus price. There's lots of different VAs out there, and I like to liken it into the difference between Walmart and Nordstrom's. If I want to buy tube socks, I just need some athletic socks or whatever, I'll go to Walmart. Walmart's great for that. They're cheap, they work, they're great. I might even buy them at Costco. Who knows? And that's great. But you're not going to see me at Costco or at Walmart shopping for a suit so that I can get up on stage and present in front of 1,000 people in a Walmart or a Costco suit. That's not going to happen. I'm going to go to Nordstrom's for that because I want the best. Well, let me offer this as a suggestion. When you're building a world-class team, you build a world-class team by hiring world-class individuals. World-class teams are made up of world-class people. If you want to have ninjas out there crushing it on your behalf, don't hire the cheapest solution out there. Find great people and pay them well. Now, that being said, it can still be very affordable, and it can still save you a lot of money going with virtual assistants versus hiring locally or in your local market. That being said, cheap is not necessarily better. Be very careful about the quality of the people you hire. I cannot say that enough time. Quality is super important. And when you hire your quality people, when you surround yourself and you build your team with these world-class people, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a world-class team, and all of a sudden, things are going to happen. You're not going to have to be involved in every little detail of your business because you're going to have great people doing a great job for you on a daily basis that you know, like, and trust, and you know that they're going to get the job done right. Very important to keep in mind. All right, so let's talk about some things that VAs can do. What can a virtual assistant do? Remember, anything that doesn't require physical presence in your office can be done by a virtual assistant. So as long as they're not licking stamps in your office or sweeping the floors in your office, that sort of thing, it can be done by a VA. Listing and transaction coordinators, very, very popular positions for virtual assistants. listing and transaction coordinators. In fact, just today I placed a listing coordinator with an agent who's building their team entirely out of virtual assistants now. Actually, I shouldn't say that. They've got one local assistant that's kind of their manager that's been with them for a long time, and now they're hiring everybody else underneath them that they're hiring are all virtual assistants. Fabulous business model. And as listing and transaction coordinators, they're handling everything. The agent brings the listing back, hands it off to his main assistant who sticks it in the scanner and emails that to, or actually they use Dropbox, and they're Dropboxing that to their virtual assistant who handles everything, from listing input to the multiple to all the advertising, flyer creation, everything, the whole 9 yards. They're handling it from soup to nuts. Then when they have a signed around purchase and sale agreement on that, it goes off to another virtual assistant who's their transaction coordinator who handles everything from contract to close. Let me tell you, very efficient, very effective, and it allows the agent to focus 100% of their time on the 3 most important things that every business needs to know. Now, you're going to want to write this down because this is not in my slides, so make sure you write this down. The 3 most important things that every business must do, it doesn't matter what business you're in, these are the 3 most important things you have to do. Lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion. I'll say those again so that you have time to write them down. Lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion. Those are the 3 most important things any business can do. It doesn't matter how great your service is. If you don't have clients to serve, you're not going to make any money and you're not going to please anybody, right? We're all about taking great care of our clients. I believe in that 100%. I think it's very, very important, and it just, in my opinion, it just goes without saying that you have to deliver world-class service. Now, assuming that we're all operating on that premise that yes, we're going to deliver world-class service, now we can get to where we understand that, look, I got to bring clients in the door, and I do that with those 3 things: lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion. So you, as the agent or as the mortgage broker, or as the business leader, as the rainmaker for your team, need to focus the majority of your time on those 3 tasks. And by offloading your listing and transaction coordinator, or if you're a mortgage broker, offloading your processing, your client care, your follow-up, all that stuff should be done by your virtual assistants. Bookkeeping is another big one. This is very, very popular use of virtual assistants. We see more and more people using their VAs for this all the time. Now, we're talking about VAs that are specially trained in bookkeeping. I'm not talking about taking your executive assistant and trying to make them a bookkeeper. I'm saying we go out and we get a specific person who is trained in bookkeeping, understands QuickBooks, and is a rock star bookkeeper. And oh, by the way, you can get that bookkeeper for as little as $9 an hour. Unbelievable. Let me tell you, $9 an hour for a killer bookkeeper, that's free. I mean, if you think about it, in the States, you're going to pay anywhere from $25 to $65 an hour for a decent bookkeeper. I used to have 4 of them on my staff, on my internal staff, when I was doing a lot of REO. Now that I'm doing what I'm doing now that I'm a full-time headhunter for virtual assistants, my bookkeeper happens to reside in the Philippines, and I only need the 1. I don't need 4 anymore, but I got to tell you, this one that I have in the Philippines that works for me now is as good or better than any bookkeeper I've ever had locally. And oh, by the way, I feel more confident in the security of my money and my finances now than I ever did before because she has limited access to my stuff. She can't access my physical checks. She doesn't have access to my bank account. What happens is, my bank account automatically downloads into my QuickBooks every month. So all she's got to do is take the bank statement and go in and do the reconciliations. With the bills, my wife just scans the bills in and shoots those over via Dropbox. And by the way, if you don't already have Dropbox, go to Dropbox.com. It's free. It's like a virtual server. It's fantastic. And anyway, so she just dumps them into that Dropbox file. My bookkeeper then does again all the reconciliations. She attaches the receipts. So that my wife has also sent her all the receipts, and those get attached inside QuickBooks to each expense the appropriate expense, which gives me further accountability and further makes it easy if we're ever audited by the IRS or anything like that, or if my accountant has questions. Then she'll literally generate the checks, and she'll call my wife up and she'll say, Tara, go to your printer, stick the checks in the printer, and hit print. Tara goes over to the printer, sticks the checks in, hits print, out pop all the checks to pay the bills. Super easy, Tara, her entire investment of time is less than 5 minutes from the time she scanned everything in, sent it to the VA, and printed out the checks. It's literally under 5 minutes, and our books have never been tighter. I'll tell you what, and if you're doing REO today, you know as well as anybody in the world how important your reimbursements are. And if you're sick of losing money on reimbursements, let me get you a killer bookkeeper. Don't lose another dime on reimbursements. And I'll tell you that most agents that I know that have done REO for a long time, at some point in their career, they lost money on reimbursements. And I know agents that have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars because they weren't on top of their reimbursements, because they weren't on top of their contractors, because their utilities people weren't on top of what they were doing. I'm telling you, all of this stuff can be done by virtual assistants for less than you're going to hire somebody locally for, and they'll do a better job of it. Take my word for it, and the word of hundreds of our clients that have gone through the same thing. All right, receptionist, huge. And by the way, I want to go back to REO real quick. How about those utilities? You know, who's handling your utilities turn-ons and turn-offs? Who's managing your contractors and your rehab work? You know, all of that can be done by virtual assistants very, very easily. You know, my virtual assistants were literally managing my runners. You know, so I had boots on the ground, obviously, in my local market that were going out and putting the flyers in the boxes and taking the pictures of the houses and all that stuff. Well, guess who was in charge of them? The person in charge of them happened to be overseas, and that was great. It worked out very, very well. Telemarketing and appointment setting. This one's huge for those of you that are doing retail or short sale work, or if you're in the mortgage business. Telemarketing and appointment setting is huge. For example, I've got telemarketers and appointment setters that work for me that literally keep my schedule busy every day. So I have my appointments booked every half hour on the days that I want to work. So I never have to dial the phone unless I'm dialing someone who's expecting me to call them at that time. So literally from 6 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night, I have literally appointments every half hour on the half hour to talk with people that are interested in talking with me about what I offer and what my service is. And you can do the same thing. Maybe you want them to call for sale by owners and expireds. Maybe you want to call people whose homes are in distress or potentially in distress. Maybe you want to call people who refinanced or got a mortgage more than 4 years ago, or whatever it is. You can't imagine the uses that you can get out of this. And I'll tell you, for if you're like me and you don't prefer to dial for dollars, but you know you need to, and you know it's going to bring you the money, and frankly, folks, it does. There is nothing more effective, in my opinion, than dialing for dollars. It is extremely effective. It works very, very well. And I love that I have my telemarketers doing it for me so that I don't have to. Search engine optimization, clearly, blogging, social media, website design and development, client care coordinator. Let me tell you, one of the positions, I have a client in California. He's one of the biggest Fannie Mae agents in the country, and he has a virtual assistant whose job it is to go through, he uses REO Maestro. And this VA, her entire job is to go through all the tasks in REO Maestro and make sure that everybody in his team is up to date on their tasks. Because as we know, asset managers aren't going to be happy if it takes you 2 days or even 48 hours. Most of them, if they say your deadline's 48 hours, it's really 24 hours. You got to get on it right now. And they time you on this stuff. And so having your VA go through and make sure that everybody on your team is doing what they're supposed to be doing when they're supposed to be doing it ensures that your asset managers will be happy and that their things will be done on time and that you'll be getting more listings from them, more assets from them. Huge stuff. So client care coordinator. Now, this client care coordinator also is a great position if you want to have someone calling your past clients, your current clients, retail and short sale clients as well, just to touch base with them and develop that referral program that you've probably started or you're thinking about starting to develop so that you can get retail and short sale referrals out of folks. This was huge for our business. About 25% of our retail about 25% of our overall business, which consisted mostly of retail and short sale, came from referrals from those retail and short sale sellers and buyers. So research, if you want to research anything for that, I mean, it could be, you might want to research foreclosure data. You might want to research where the best place to eat in Dallas is when you're down there for an event, or whatever. I mean, anything you want researched, your VAs can research for you. Obviously, data entry, managing your client relationship management software, checking and handling your emails and voicemails. Now, I want to touch on this one for just a moment. I want you to think about how many emails and voicemails do you have every single day. Now, how many hours do you spend handling those emails every single day? Let me tell you, it's huge for most people. The average that I've heard is that most people spend upwards of 3 hours per day handling emails and voicemails. Now, maybe 50, let's say a third of those emails need to be handled by you. A third of those emails could easily be handled by a well-trained assistant, and a third of those emails are just plain junk and need to be deleted. Well, basically what we've determined is your virtual assistant, once trained, can handle 2/3 of your emails and your voicemails for you, freeing you up to focus on bringing in more business through your lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion that we talked about. This is huge. If all a virtual assistant could do for you is take 2 hours a day off your plate so that you no longer have to worry about those emails and voicemails, how much more money would you be making? How many more listings would you be bringing in? How much more time could you spend with your family? It's huge. That's one of the things that I absolutely advocate, is making sure that you've got someone else handling the lion's share of your emails and voicemails. Managing your calendar. This is another big one. If you want to set an appointment to talk with me, you're going to speak with my virtual assistant first, and they're going to set up a time for us to talk so that I know you're ready and you know I'm ready, and when we have it scheduled, we're going to be there together and we're going to be talking together. So I don't have to manage my calendar. It manages me, literally. I get up in the morning, I look at my calendar, I know where I need to be, when I need to be there, who I'm talking to, who I'm calling, and all that good stuff. Booking all your flights and hotels. I don't know about you, but this is not something I enjoy doing for myself. I love having my virtual assistant doing that. They can call you up and program your brain for success every morning. Heck, they could be your chief financial officer, project director, transcriptionist, graphics designers. Heck, if you wanted to teach your kids to play an instrument, you could literally hire someone in another part of the world to teach them how to play an instrument for less money than it would cost you to go down the street, drive a half hour to get your kid to their lessons, wait the hour for them to take the lesson, then drive in a half hour back home. Why waste 2 hours of your day doing that when you could let your child learn in the safety of your own home via Skype, over the internet, how to play that instrument, and then you can take that extra time and you can go spend it doing something fun together. What a great alternative. We have actually clients right now who are hiring virtual assistants to tutor their kids in different subjects. I've got one who's got a college student needing to learn algebra and biology, and we're helping them learn their algebra and biology via Skype, believe it or not. It's actually pretty cool. They can create full motion animated videos, teach you any language. If you want to learn a language, who better to learn it from than somebody that actually lives in that country? I mean, I can't think of a better way to go. All right, so what would you use a virtual assistant for? Think about that for a moment. What would you use a virtual assistant for in your business? What's your biggest need? What's the thing that you'd love to get off your plate, excuse me, so that you can focus more on lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion? Or maybe it's that you want to spend more time with your family. Well, let me talk to you about some truths about VAs, because there's a lot of myths out there about VAs. A lot of people think that VAs don't speak good English. And I'll be honest, a lot of VAs don't speak good English. But let me tell you, the right virtual assistants can speak perfect English. My assistant, I've got 27 people on my internal team that are virtual assistants. Of those 27 people, I've got some that, their English is not great because in the position they're in, I don't need them to speak great English. But the ones that are in positions where they have client contact, let me tell you, they better speak great English. I've got several VAs that are on my team and many, many VAs deployed with clients who speak perfect English, literally as good or better than I speak English. That you would never, ever know that they're calling you from another part of the world. In fact, when they call you, the caller ID would be from my area code here in Seattle. Not all virtual assistants are from the Philippines or India. In fact, we hire virtual assistants from all over the world. We hire in Central and South America, South Africa, Europe, England. We hire from all over the world, and there's talented people in every corner of the world. The key is finding the right talent in the right part of the world that makes the right sense for your business right now. Oftentimes they require less management than local employees. And let me tell you why. I have a software program that I use that we'd be happy to give you access to. Just reach out to me. I'll get you the information on it. But basically what it does is my virtual assistants log into their computer in the morning, and if they step away from their computer for more than 3 minutes, it will literally log them out of this time tracking software. Now, it'll also, throughout the day, every 9 minutes, it will take a screenshot of their computer. Now, they don't know when this happens. It happens at random, and so they can't, make sure they're on the right screen at the right time. It just takes the screenshot when it takes it, and they don't know it's been taken. What that means is you know if they're working or not. You know if they're goofing around or not. In fact, if they're late to work, if they're on a website they shouldn't be, like Facebook or HannahMontana.com, if they don't put in enough hours, if they leave early or anything like that, it will also send you an email to let you know that that has happened. Guess what? You want to talk about accountability? There is no better way to get absolute 100% accountability out of your team than having them on this time tracking software, and it's only $10 a month per position. So you have to, so it's literally like $20 a month for you and your VA to each have a seat on this software so that you can watch what's going on. The cool part is that for our clients, when those alerts also get sent to my team so that we can kind of help keep an eye on what your staff is doing if you'd like us to. You don't have to have us do this, but our clients generally choose to have us do this because it gives them a layer of protection, and it makes it so that the client doesn't have to be micromanaging their employees. Man, let me tell you, great stuff. The work quality of virtual assistants is often superior to what you can find in your local market, because instead of drawing from 20 or 30 or 80,000 people in your local market for talent, now you're drawing from billions of people worldwide. You have literally the entire world as your marketplace for virtual assistants, or I should say for talent of any kind. All right, huge stuff. Now, by the way, I want to take a step back, and I want to tell you about the reason, the number one reason, in my opinion, why everyone should have a virtual assistant. For those of you that are married, or heck, for those of you that are single, have you ever felt that you were married to your phone or your email? Have you ever felt like you've been on vacation and your loved one or whoever you were traveling with said, "Hey, would you mind putting the phone down and actually spending some time with me while we're here?" And believe me, anybody in the real estate or mortgage business has experienced this at some point in their career and in their life. I certainly have. And let me tell you, it's terrible. It's something we all have to find a way to overcome. So here's my number one reason to use virtual assistants. I said this earlier. I'm going to say it again. Please write this down. No success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. I'll say that again. No success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. Let me tell you, after I took my office virtual, I walked you through that whole thing. Once I took my entire office virtual, I literally took 6 weeks off. Now, we all know what it's like in the REO business. I want you guys to think about this for just a moment. I took 6 weeks off. I took my family to Europe. I didn't call my office. I didn't check my email. I didn't check in with anybody back in the States. I literally disconnected for 6 weeks, traveled all over Europe. And by the way, if you know what mountain that is in the background, type it into your screen. I've got a special treat for anyone, for the first person that can guess what mountain that is. I've got a special treat for you, a little bonus for you. But type that into your questions box on your screen there. We'll see if anybody can guess what it is. But literally, we spent 6 weeks traveling Europe with no contact with my office, and guess what? My business grew while I was gone. Now, you're thinking I'm insane. You're thinking I'm crazy. How in the world was I able to pull that off? I was able to pull that off because I had a phenomenal team of virtual assistants working for me. Now, had I wanted to, it would have been very easy for me to check in with my office. It would have been very easy with me to do my work from anywhere in the world. But I chose not to on this trip because I felt like for so many years I had been robbing my family of time with me, and I felt like it was so important for me to take advantage of this opportunity that I had to go really invest some quality time in my wonderful wife and our amazing kids. And let's see, we've got some answers coming in here. And yes, let me see who was the first one to get it. I got a bunch of them in here. Several people. It's not Garmisch. It's not the Iger, Neil. Very close. It's great. I love that. Iger Sanction was a great movie, by the way, with Clint Eastwood. And the first person to say it right, it is, in fact, the Matterhorn. Yes, it is. And the first person to put that in there was Lloyd. Lloyd, thank you very much for that. You are absolutely correct. And afterwards, Lloyd, I'd like you to connect with me. I've got a special treat with you, or a special treat for you. I'm going to give you a little added bonus. So make sure that you, when you get a chance, Lloyd, go to advancedreosecrets.net, advancedreosecrets.net, and fill out that form on that page. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure that you and I personally connect one-on-one. I will talk with you on the phone, and I'm going to give you this special gift. So anyway, virtual assistants made that possible. I could never have done that trip without my virtual assistants, and man, what an amazing life-changing trip it was. I cannot begin to tell you how much closer my family and are now today because of the time that we were able to take on that trip. And frankly, it changed how I looked at business. And since then, I have elected to work a 3-day week. And so now I work 3 days a week, and I spend, Thursday is kind of my day. If I don't have a webinar, then I spend Thursdays with, kind of taking care of me time, getting the things done that I need to get done, working on the business, that kind of thing. But it's my elective day. I don't have to work that day. Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays I spend entirely with the family. I spend the morning on Friday with my wife, and then when my kids get home early afternoon on Fridays, from then until Sunday night, it's all family time. Man, let me tell you, when you really dial in your team, that can be possible for you as well. All right, here's a great real estate agent. He's a buddy of mine down in California, Ken Kellerman, president of Sales Advantage Group. Here's a little testimonial from him. He says, my virtual assistant is terrific. She saves me money, does a fantastic job, and is invaluable to my business. The process of hiring through virtual assistant staffing was easy, fast, and efficient. With the free trial, I knew I had nothing to lose. I highly recommend this service. In fact, Ken has had a virtual assistant with us for going on 2 years now, and she's been a fantastic addition to his team, and he just gave her a raise recently. In fact, she was doing such a great job for him. So if you're a real estate agent and you call Ken's office wanting to know how to write up an offer on one of his listings or something of that nature, his virtual assistant is the one that actually takes those calls, makes sure those agents are well cared for and happy so that he doesn't get any complaints with his asset managers. He wants to know that those assistants are taking awesome care of those real estate agents calling in, and they do. So great. I really appreciate Ken and his business. All right, so let's talk about why should you hire a VA, or when, rather, should you hire a VA. When you're ready for growth, when you've experienced attrition, in other words, somebody's left your team for one reason or another, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you just need to save some money, you're ready to take your business to that next level, and especially when you can afford one, that's when you want to start thinking about hiring a virtual assistant. And there's a lot of ways to look at it, but ultimately, typically, if you're thinking about hiring a virtual assistant, you should probably expect to spend, upwards of about $500 a month, depending on how many hours a month you're going to use them and that sort of thing. But generally speaking, you want to budget for at least $500 a month. Now, is it possible to hire virtual assistants for less? Yes, it is, especially if you're not using them full-time, if you're using part-time or quarter-time or even just 2.5 hours a week, of course. But generally speaking, if you're looking to build your team and really grow it and you want to put ninjas and rock stars on your team that are going to be with you for many years, I'd suggest that as a good starting budget. Now, even if you're not there, even if you just want to connect with us and just kind of stay in touch with us so that when you are ready, we can kind of, get together, then jump on advancedreosecrets.net and fill out the form, and we will definitely take care of you. And we'll just keep in touch until that time is right. All right, so how do you find the right virtual assistant? Let's talk about this. There's lots of services out there. Now, obviously we have a virtual assistant headhunting service. That's what I do. And of course, I would love to work with you. But I'm going to show you real quick how you can do it for yourself. Maybe you want to save a few bucks. Maybe you don't want somebody doing the interviewing process for you and going out and finding all the VAs for you and doing the testing and all that for you. Maybe you just want to do it on your own and save a few bucks. That's okay. And so here's the do-it-yourself method. You can do Craigslist.com. You can go to Elance.com, Fiverr, 99 Designs, Odesk, Guru, Monster, job boards. There's lots of different services out there. Now, many of these services specialize in kind of project work. For example, if you just need a logo done, if all you want is just a logo done for your company, go to 99 Designs. For a couple $100, you can easily get a logo designed that would just knock your socks off. You'd be really happy with. But you want to go to the right place for the right person for the right reason. So 99 Designs is a good one for that. Now, if you want to hire a headhunter, and someone like me, obviously, I would love for you to hire us. But whether you hire us or someone else, expect guaranteed results. Expect them to give you a free test drive. One of the things we're going to do for you, in part because of the snafu we had with technology today, and in part simply because of my relationship with Frank and how important that relationship is to me, and I know that you guys have a lot of confidence in Frank Patrick as well, and just kind of as our way of saying thank you to him for connecting you and I, we're going to give each and every person that would like to take advantage of this a full free week of virtual assistant time. That's up to 40 hours. And I'll give you an example. Let's say you used a web developer. That could be a $25 an hour position for a really high-end web developer that could literally be valued at $1,000. So we're going to literally give you up to $1,000 of valuable virtual assistant time just because of your relationship with Frank and because of how important we feel our relationship with Frank is. To take advantage of that, you just go to that advancedreosecrets.net and fill out that form, and we'll contact you, and we'll make that happen. All right, so again, regardless of who you hire, you're going to want to make sure they have a proven system for finding, vetting, and hiring that virtual assistant. You're going to want to make sure they have flexible plans because, frankly, some of you may not need a full-time virtual assistant. You may only need somebody for 2.5 hours a week or 10 hours a week or maybe as much as 20 hours a week. You never know. But you want to make sure that whatever company you work with has flexible plans and can accommodate whatever time schedule you want to have. You also want to make sure that they're managing all the payroll taxes, resolving any issues that come up between you and the VA, up to and including replacing that VA for you if necessary. I would never, ever, ever, ever pay an upfront fee when hiring a virtual assistant company. That's a common scam. Be very, very careful with that. Never, ever, ever pay an upfront fee to hire a virtual assistant. If the company that you're working with believes enough in their assistants to place them with you, then they should believe in them enough to give you at least that free 1-week test drive so that you can make sure that that virtual assistant's the right person for your team. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Once you fill out that form on advancedreosecrets.net, you're going to get a call from somebody on my team who's going to dig really deep into your needs, find out exactly what it is that you're looking for in a virtual assistant, and then we're going to go out there and we're going to find that person for you. That process usually takes about 2 weeks. Then we're going to bring them back to you so you can test drive that person, make sure they're the right fit for your team. When you love them, keep them, and we'll begin billing you after that trial period. If you don't love them for some reason, we'll replace them absolutely free, and we'll give you another free week with the new one. Again, I just want to make sure that we're your long-term resource and that you're happy with who you get. Now, I want to talk to you about another topic real quick here. Guaranteeing your success at every event you go to. We all go to networking events. We all go to industry events. And we meet lots of people at these events. There's great networking that happens there. But the challenge is you come away from that event and you've got a whole bunch of business cards. And what do you do with those cards when you're done? You throw them in your drawer when you get home. They sit on your desk. They end up on the kitchen counter, and your wife throws them away because she thinks they're garbage. Whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, oftentimes we don't follow up with the people that we want to follow up with, not because we are deliberately not following up with them, just because life happens and we forget, and it just, stuff happens, we don't get to it. Well, here's how you avoid that happening. Here's what I do. When I collect business cards at an event, before I leave for the airport, before I leave the hotel to go to the airport and go home, I literally stop by the front desk and I hand them all the business cards of all the people that I met that I want to follow up with. And I ask the hotel to scan those cards in and email them to me. I've never had anyone charge me for this. They always do it for free, and then they send me the email. Then what I do is I forward that email to my virtual assistant. My virtual assistant then inputs those cards and calls every single one of those people and sets up an appointment for me to talk with them, which means I get 100% follow-up with every single person that I've met at that event that I want to talk with afterwards. Do you think if all your VA did for you was input those business cards into your CRM and contact each one of those people to set up a time for you to speak with them, if that's all your VA did, how much more would you be making? How many more transactions would you be doing every year? How many more asset managers would you be working with? How many more commission checks would you be cashing literally every single month, because now you've got those relationships in place. Real estate is a relationship game. It is not numbers is very important, don't get me wrong, but it's not transactional. Contrary to what a lot of people think, it's not a transactional business. It's a relational business. You have to take care of people. You have to show people that you care. Remember, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. All right, you can do this. I know that you guys can do this. A lot of rainmakers suffer from the nobody can do it as well as me syndrome. Don't be victim of that. Know that there are great people out there that can do things just as well as you can and for a fraction of what your time is worth. Make sure you build your team with those people. Go out today. Make a list of everything that you do. Highlight the things that you want off your plate. And start building a job description around that, and then we can start bringing people onto your team to take those things off your plate. Now, keep in mind, training is critical. A lot of the agents I work with are literally in the top 100 agents in the country, and those agents know better than anyone that training is critical. Never trust anyone else to train your team. It's important that every day that training be a part of your life, that it's not just something you do once. It's something you do every single day forever. And as you do that, you will build that team of ninjas around you out there just killing it on your behalf. You will really get out of your team what you put into them. I train, motivate, and hold accountable on a daily basis. One of the things I really like to do, and I hope you'll all write this down, this is another golden nugget. If all you get out of today is this one nugget, this will be worth your time on this webinar. Do a daily huddle with your team. Every team, and I've coached many teams across the country, and every team that I've implemented the daily huddle with has seen increased productivity inside of 30 to 60 days, every single one of them. Now, here's what you do. The daily huddle is easy. It's 15 to 20 minutes every morning with your entire team. If you've got a big team, it might take you 30 minutes total. You're going to talk about yesterday's accomplishments. You're going to talk about today's goals and tasks. You're going to talk about the potential challenges or roadblocks that might come up on our way to accomplishing those goals and tasks. You're going to take the time to motivate, inspire, and direct the efforts of the troop, and you're going to role play. You have to role play on this call. Role play the discussions they're going to have with clients. Role play, what might happen throughout the day and how you would handle this situation or that situation. How would you respond to this email? Those types of things. The more you do this, the better your team will be. The better your team is, the more money you'll make, the less time you'll have to work, and the greater freedom you will have in your life. All right, some great training tools are Jing, Screencast, Camtasia. You can shoot a quick video of training, shoot it over to your VA. You can do Skype to discuss. You can use Dropbox to share files. These are all free tools, by the way. All right, so once again, here's how it works. You're going to get to test drive your new virtual assistant for up to 40 hours or 1 full week on me, as my way of saying thanks for being here today and thanks for being a part of Frank Patrick's group. Also, you're only going to pay if and when you feel you have the right virtual assistant on your team. I cannot guarantee that every placement is going to be perfect, but I can guarantee that you won't pay anything until you're 100% happy. I will always take 100% of the risk so that you don't have to. Our goal is to provide you with the right VA, take the majority of tasks off your plate, help you focus on the money-generating activities that you need to be focused on, like lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion, so that you can work on your business and not in your business. We're going to help you create more profit, less expense, and have more free time. As we do that, we're going to develop a long-term relationship with you and your team. And hopefully then you'll become a raving fan, just like Frank, referring us to everyone you know. And guess what? As you do that, we're even going to pay you a referral fee. Yes, that's true. We will literally pay you a percentage of every dollar that we earn from every client that you send our way as our way of saying thank you so much for your confidence in us and for referring us to those clients. All right, so again, here's how you claim your test drive. Jump on advancedreosecrets.net. Now, with that, I want to open it up to questions. So anybody that's got questions, please go ahead and type your questions into your screen now. And I will go ahead and I will start answering those questions as quickly as I can, one at a time, of course. It looks like we've got a bunch of questions coming in here. Hold on. Let me get them one at a time. Go ahead and, again, type those into your list, into your questions box. All right, one of the questions I have is there any long-term commitment? Stephanie is asking, is there a long-term commitment? And the answer is no, Stephanie. There is never a long-term commitment. In fact, it says right in our contract that you can cancel anytime with or without cause, and you're never, ever locked in. Another question is, let's see here. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull this up. Got a question from CH. Yes, CH has a great question. I had an assistant, and it's a pain to retrain an assistant if you ever have to replace them. I absolutely agree. You are 100% correct on that, CH. One of the ways that you can solve that and that you can avoid having that challenge is to record your training on video. First of all, the best way to overcome that challenge is to hire the right people the first time and treat them well and educate them well so that they stick around and they want to be loyal, and hopefully you don't have to replace them. But we all know that things happen. People have babies. People move. People get hit by a bus. I mean, stuff happens. People leave for one reason or another. They get offended by the way their employer treats them from time to time. Who knows? But at the end of the day, if you want to avoid that happening, make sure that all the training you do is video recorded. You could use GoToWebinar, you could use Jing, Screencast, Camtasia. All these different resources are out there, and most of them are free, and you can just record quick training videos so that you just do that training one time, and then next time you hire somebody or you change positions, and that happens too. A lot of times you have great people, but your team grows, and you have people moving from one position to the other, and so you want to be able to say, hey, Susie, go watch these 5 videos over here, and if you have any questions, ask Paula, and she's going to help you with any questions that you have on those 5 videos so that you can learn that job duty or that part of the job. So, great question, CH, or great comment. I completely agree with you. Can you get a VA? Matt wants to know, can you get a VA that speaks Spanish? And absolutely, yes, Matt. In fact, I just placed a VA it was yesterday. I almost said today, but it was yesterday, actually, from Bolivia, who speaks perfect Spanish and perfect English. For a client who's a real estate agent. This was actually a real estate agent client in a Hispanic market in Texas that wanted a VA that could communicate with her Hispanic clients. And, she does not speak Spanish, and a lot of her clients do, and she needs a lot of help with that. So, yeah, Spanish speaking is not a problem. All right, keeping going. Do you feel it's probably better to have an in-house assistant to manage and train the VA? That's a great question. That's another one actually from CH. CH, thank you very much for that question. And, I'll be honest with you. I have mixed feelings about this. Do I think that it's important to have an in-house, someone, a local assistant? No, I really don't. In fact, I don't have anybody on my team anymore that's local. Every single person on my team is somewhere in some other part of the world from me. Nobody's even close to me. And I like it that way. It's been very effective that way. So no, I don't think that it's important at all to have somebody that's local to your office. Now, if you have a phenomenal assistant on your team today already, I think it's a good idea to keep that person. I'm not a believer in getting rid of somebody just to save money by hiring somebody else. I don't think that's a great move necessarily. Now, if you're having challenges with that person, yeah, that's a different story. But when you've got somebody that's been with you for a long time and they're doing a great job for you, it's a good idea to keep that person on your team. So that being said, no, I don't feel at all that it's necessary to have a local virtual assistant or a local assistant train someone else, your virtual assistant. Is it possible to have an already trained virtual assistant? Jamie is asking. Is it Jamie or James? I can't read the whole name. Sorry. But we'll assume it's Jamie. And the answer is yes, it's absolutely possible to have an already trained VA. I will say this: even if I had my, if I was hiring a buyer's agent in my local market today, I would not, if I brought a buyer's agent on that worked with another team in another part of my marketplace as a buyer's agent, and they've been with that team for a long time, you would think they'd already be trained, right, and that they were already a great buyer's agent. But I would never trust that training. I would always want to do my own training with everybody on my team. I don't care if I'm hiring a buyer's agent, a virtual assistant, listing agent, a transaction coordinator. It doesn't matter what position I'm hiring for. I want to train people my way, because your way, Jamie, of doing things is going to be different than my way, and my way is going to be different than Frank's way, and everybody's way is a little bit different. So you always want to make sure that they're trained your way. What a terrific question. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And yes, Matt, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to be here. And again, sorry for that snafu, that technical challenge we had earlier. How about the demographic and type of business that might be interested in a product or service outside of real estate? I have a business and I'm trying to get off the ground, and it's unrelated to real estate. Ian, that's a great question. We actually, I'll be honest with you, only about 50% of our clients are actually real estate agents. We have clients in many, many different industries all over the world. And so, yes, what I would recommend is let's you and I get on the phone. Jump on advancedreosecrets.net, fill out that form, and let's you and I get on the phone and let's talk one-on-one about what your business is and where your biggest needs lie, and if and how a virtual assistant could potentially help you grow that business and get it off the ground, as you mentioned. But yeah, I love that. And yes, we do. We work with tons of different industries. And thank you, CH. I do appreciate you being here as well. Thank you for that comment. How does this work with local BPO reports? And Neil is asking that question. Neil, that's a great question. And what we do is, when we start off, when I first brought it, I'll use my first VA as an example. The very first VA I hired was doing BPO reports for me. And what we would do is, my gal that had been doing my BPOs for a long time, and if you're the Lone Ranger, maybe this is you, but she would go through and she would select the comps. She would say, okay, I'm going to pick out the comparable properties I want used for this BPO, and she would just email the MLS numbers over to the VA. The VA then would take those MLS numbers and the client information, so the VA knew what platform it was in. Was it AMN or REO Trans or ResNet or whatever, Equator? And I said REO Trans. How old does that make me sound? Anyway, they would take that information. They would go do the BPO. They would literally take those comps. They would do the BPO around those comps, put them in there. They would go out. They'd research crime data, demographic information, all that good stuff, put their own comments in there, and then it would come back to my gal, and she would just review everything, alter the comments, tweak anything, make any adjustments she wanted to make, and hit send. It was fantastic, and I'll tell you that it was, the lion's share of work in a BPO is data entry and just stuff that's a waste of your time. 80% of that BPO can be done by just about anybody with very little training. It doesn't take a lot to be able to do 80% of that BPO. Now, once you get them well trained, they can do 100% of it. All you got to do is Dropbox the photos, and they take care of the rest. And so there you go. Great question. All right. I've got another question here. How soon can I start? That's a great one, and that's from Kevin. Kevin, I appreciate that. Really, you can start anytime. Whether you're ready today or 6 months from now or a year from now, whenever you're ready, we're here for you. We're not going to pressure you. Again, just jump on advancedreosecrets.net, fill out the form, and we'll reach out to you by phone, and you'll have a phone call one-on-one with me, and we'll get you taken care of right away. Now, I will say that once we do connect, it's going to take me about a week and a half to 2 weeks to get your position filled, depending on the type of position it is, but we will get that filled right away for you. So, fantastic questions. Keep entering those questions in, folks. I want to make sure I get to all of them, and I know there's still a handful here that I haven't gotten to, so I just want to let you know I will get to those. All right, here's another question for us. The question is, how much does a typical real estate virtual assistant cost? Okay, so a typical real estate virtual assistant, and by the way, thank you for that, Stacy. A typical real estate virtual assistant is going to cost anywhere, and it depends on what your needs are. It could be anywhere from $7 an hour as far up as $15 an hour. But I'll be honest with you, $15 an hour is pretty much on the high end. It's unlikely that as a real estate agent that you would need a virtual assistant that's that high end. Sometimes brokers, people that own larger businesses, like CEOs of real estate companies, like RE/MAX, for an example, or some of those guys, they will use a higher level virtual assistant, but you'd probably be okay between $7 and $13 an hour and even $13 an hour. That's an incredibly high level virtual assistant. I mean, that's the kind of person that can completely take over your office and manage other people on your team and handle all your transaction coordination and everything from soup to nuts, so that when you go on vacation, they're running the show and you know it's being done right. So anyway, good stuff. Great question. All right. And looks like we've got one last quote. We got another one. Hold on. They keep coming in. Let's see. Okay, so if we need, I got several more here. I'm sorry. I'm doing the best I can to get all to them. Okay, if we need assistance training a VA, will you assist? Yes, I will happily do that. In fact, I'm going to go you one better. My wife, Tara, ran our office staff and knows more about the administrative side of this business than anybody. And I mean, she's literally seen thousands and thousands of transactions cross her desk. And so she will be very, very happy to help you train your VAs, particularly those VAs that are going to be working in the real estate side of the business. But we do have lots of resources for that. The bottom line is we just want to make sure you're happy, that you're building a great team that you're going to want to keep for a long, long time, and that we're your resource for recruiting and training. Can I get a link to this webinar to send to my partner on said new venture? We are interested in vetting. Yes, and yes, the short answer is absolutely. I am recording this webinar, and it will be made available to you tomorrow. I will be sending out the replay link for everybody no later than tomorrow. So, and I can't guarantee by what time tomorrow, but I'm on the West Coast, so I would say probably by noon West Coast time, I'll have this thing in the email to y'all so that you can replay it. You can share it with anybody you'd like, and keep in mind too that as you run into other real estate agents or mortgage brokers or people in any industry for that matter that could use a virtual assistant, whether it's a bookkeeper or a telemarketer or a transaction coordinator or a content writer, web developer, regardless of what it is, let me know. We'd be happy to work with them, and I'd love to pay you a percentage of every dollar that we collect from them for as long as they're a client. So, all right. Well, that looks to be, hold on. I keep getting more coming in. And what is your base fee structure? And there are a lot of variables in the fee structure, and that question was from Neil. And Neil, there are tons and tons of variables in the fee structure. It really depends on how many hours you're going to be using them. It depends on what level of English you want. The heavier the accent, the less expensive they are. If you want somebody that speaks perfect English with no accent, it's a little more expensive. If you want somebody with a sexy British accent, that's a little bit more expensive. If you want to use somebody for fewer hours, the hourly rate is higher, but obviously you're not paying as much per month. That you get the biggest break on pricing when you're using them full time, for example, but you can use them for as little as 2.5 hours a week. So there's lots of variables. Basically what we'll do is when we connect on the phone, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about, what are you looking for in a VA? How many hours a week do you want them? And I'll be able to tell you right then and there on the phone exactly how much it'll end up costing based on your needs. So good question. I appreciate that question. Thank you for that. Generally, realizing variables will pop in. Yeah, that's true. There will be a lot of different variables. So, okay, good. Well, with that, I think we've handled the lion's share of the questions, and I'm not seeing any more at this time. So, everybody, I just want to thank you so very much for being patient with me this morning. Thank you for being here, and you have my commitment that I will personally take care of you, and that when you reach out to me, I will personally be working with you to help you with whatever your needs are. And even if you're not looking to hire a VA right now, maybe you just want to call and chat and get some, my opinion on something, or just bounce something off me. Happy to connect with you. The bottom line is you're a part of Frank's program. I want to make sure I'm doing everything I can to reach out to you and to be very, personally available to you as much as I possibly can to help you build and grow your business and ultimately get more freedom in your life as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out our webinar tonight. Thank you again all so very, very much, and have a wonderful day. And remember, you are world class.